Behind every plate is a person. Someone who took a chance, who left home, who brought their culture to Montgomery County and transformed it into something tasty. However, these stories often go unheard, with the question rarely asked, what does it take to build something that lasts? Every place has a story, and for these restaurants, their stories first began overseas.
Well, my name is Omar Lazo. I'm the owner here at Los Churros Restaurant.
My name is Annie Geopark. I'm 33 years old, and I am a co-owner of Sarah's Handmade Ice Cream.
My name is Ruth Jallo. I am the owner of Ruth's African Kitchen, located at 11435 Georgia Avenue in Wheaton.
So my parents came here in the mid-70s, both looking for a better opportunity. My mom and my dad, they were boyfriend and girlfriend in El Salvador. My mom came first. She came here to join her sister. And then my dad followed several months later, trying to reunite with my mother.
I'm originally from Nigeria. I immigrated into the United States in 2009, April 11th. My mom filed for me, and then I brought my son.
We're originally from Seoul, South Korea. When I was 9 years old, my mom and I decided to immigrate to the United States, and we had a few relatives living in Montgomery County, so we chose Bethesda, Maryland to be our new home.
My mom worked with my aunt. My aunt opened a restaurant called El Tamarindo, and it's in Washington, D.C. It's still there to this day in Adams Morgan. There was a growing Salvadoran community back in the mid-70s. My aunt saw that opportunity to make some homemade Salvadoran food because there wasn't really many options at that time. She opened a restaurant, which is still there in Adams Morgan. My mom worked with her, and that's really where she learned everything. She wanted to open her own place, and we were looking for places that were a little bit more cost effective, and we looked in Maryland. You know, there was no Salvadoran restaurants in Maryland, so eventually they landed here in Wheaton, Maryland, and became the first Salvadoran restaurant in Maryland, and really the first Latino restaurant here in Wheaton, Maryland.
During the pandemic, I got into cooking, kind of. The very first time I was supposed to make food for someone, I didn't know how to make meat pie. Somebody wanted meat pie. I was like, my mom's meat pie is very good. Then I called, I was like, can you teach me how to make meat pie? I'm sure she was shocked that day. And then my sister called me and she gave me the recipe. And then I started making and I started selling. I know people started ordering it very well. Where I really started shining was during the pandemic. You're all home now, you're not working. If you can't cook, then you pay me to cook. So that was how we started. We started getting bigger during the pandemic, 2019, 2020, 2021. By 2022, I was like, this is doing good. I want to move out of this place. I became certified in PG County, and then we started looking for a place to buy. And thank God we got this place.
My mom, Sarah, always made ice cream when I was growing up in Korea. It wasn't until 2018 when she retired and started indulging back into her old hobbies. As she's making ice cream, she couldn't consume them all, and she's decided to give it out to her neighbors. Whether it be a birthday or a celebration, my mom started asking our neighbors, what kind of flavor would you like to see for your birthday ice cream? And she became known in the neighborhood as the ice cream lady. One of our neighbors approached my mom and said, there's a long-standing ice cream shop going out of business, and it was on River Road, right in the area where I grew up in Bethesda, Maryland. And she said, this ice cream shop is for sale, so instead of making ice cream at home, why don't you turn it into a business and turn it into a commercial ice cream?
And the cilantro chicken and the cream sauce was just something that, I had done like chicken Alfredo, and that's with Parmesan. But I was like, let me try to work on a cream sauce. I ended up using margarine, a little bit of chicken broth, and obviously chicken, some vegetables, some sweet peppers, and it's just sautéed, and so it's something that I just experimented with. And I sometimes with my staff I was like, hey, you want to try some of this? And people really liked it, and we put it on specials, and people really liked it, and we ended up putting it on the menu. There's other things like jalapeno pupusas. It was something where when I was younger, I used to put green peppers in there because I didn't really like spicy. As I got older, I said one day I was just like, you know what, can you chop up some jalapeno and just stick it in there? And it was just amazing because we use the pickled jalapenos, and the vinegar kind of seeps into the cheese, which just makes a really, really good, flavor. So that was just one of those experiments that worked really well, and they ended up on the menu.
Oh, my favorite dish is the jollof rice for me. I'm a rice person. How do we make it? Okay. Jollof rice is made with rice and tomato sauce, but basically the best ingredients for it is use a lot of onions and red bell pepper. That's what gives it the cream. About onions and red bell pepper. And then tomato paste gives it its color. A little paprika. And then the spices I won't mention. Everybody have what they put in their own. We mix the jollof rice with the asun sometimes. They call it asun jollof. It just gives, the asun is a very spicy dish made from goat meat and vegetables, very hot habanero pepper. And then we mix it with the jollof rice. For those who like spicy hot food, it gives it this kick.
This might be a little bit cliche, but I have to say, I think our ice cream is the number one product that we have here. Like, we're very proud of our ice cream. We never used food coloring, although I know that that is going to make much more vibrant and cheaper a way to cut costs to use food coloring. But my mom's belief and value is that she wants to create ice cream that she truly believes is the best version of ice cream. That's something that she feels proud feeding to her own children. We use beet powder for red. We use turmeric for yellow. We use purple carrot extract. With 40 different flavors, it's going to be very hard for our customers to come in and choose one to walk away with. I always thought that impact was about having a more influential job or a career path. If I'm able to create a workplace, whether it be 2 employees or 5 employees and now 50 employees, no matter what size we are, the culture that I'm able to foster and create is going to have an impact on the community, because we are the people that make up this community. How I treat my own, the people that are around me, the people that I see every day, that's what really makes a difference.
So when we opened, we started with that Mexican food that people recognized, but we also started including the Salvadoran food. And eventually it gained acceptance in the community. People didn't really know what pupusas were or some of the other dishes, but that brought people in to try this new food that maybe they had never tried. And being the only Latino restaurant in this area, we really became a hub for the Latino community. This is where you would, bring your mom for her birthday, for baptisms, confirmations, birthday parties. There was a big group of community leaders, activists, neighbors that were against Costco putting in a gas station because it's right next to a residential community. And they're worried about the pollution and health effects of having a gas station with cars running pretty much all day. So this group got together, they went, testified with the county council, but eventually they ended up defeating that and Costco was not able to put the gas station. That group of folks chose my restaurant to celebrate that win. That was to me like an example of where we're part of that, right? We're part of that community. And it's like people I'm going home, I'm going to Los Chorros. We're gonna go celebrate with our folks.
I was starting to see a post almost every other day of customers enjoying our ice cream and uploading a photo of it on this Facebook group, which had even more impact than just a Google review. Having somebody in your neighborhood vouch for Sarah's Handmade Ice Cream played a really big role in us being able to market ourselves internally.
My name is Yasmin Azari. I am a DMV-based food content creator, and I started making videos and posting on my platforms last year, October 2024. And since then, I've been able to raise it up to 18,000 followers. I have a huge passion for food, creating content, and I love supporting small businesses. I love hearing their stories. I grew up in Montgomery County, and Montgomery County is a melting pot. Gaithersburg is known to be the highest ranked city of diversity in the US. So I'm really honored to live there and get to feel out so many different cuisines. Social media is very powerful. Just one video can reach an insanely vast amount of people. And that is life-changing for a business. Even one video reaching 10 people and 10 people coming in a day makes a big difference for a business owner. I've been able to highlight numerous immigrant-owned businesses, and in Montgomery County specifically, it was about 14. And some that really stood out to me is Z&Z. It's a Palestinian-owned bakery, and they have Manish, which is like a Palestinian pizza. So right next to them is Shanghai Taste, which is a Chinese-owned restaurant, and Costa Grande, which was a Latin cuisine. Having a business is really hard. So knowing that someone else that looks like you can do it, it is really empowering. Immigrants make a huge impact, and in the restaurant industry, they make the biggest impact. The backbone of the restaurant industry are immigrants. I feel like walking into a restaurant is, as soon as you walk in, the experience starts, because it's kind of like you're stepping into someone's living room. They've fully decorated the place, they have the music that they want on, and based on like what kind of food I'm eating, I can really feel like I'm there sometimes, and I love that about different restaurants because they can really have that effect on you. Every time I go into a restaurant, it's always been very welcoming. They've took me to the back and I've been able to talk to the cooks, the chefs, and get like a glimpse of what's going on back there, which was super new to me. And then sitting down, eating the food and like learning about them. Like I said, like there's a lot of history behind food. So just hearing about like what the owners have been through.
These restaurants serve as a cultural backbone to Montgomery County. But what's the cost of running these delicious eateries? Despite building a close relationship with their daily customers, many of these restaurants face growing pains like any other business.
So, like the very first time when we started, the very first month, my AC stopped working. And I was like, what are we supposed to do? It was around August, it was around this time. And I'm like, I didn't know what to do. And then I was like, that's how I started getting to know, I walked into somebody's town. I was like, who, I know you have an AC, who does your AC? And he gave me somebody's address. And the person came in and worked for me. The guy down there that owns Los Churros, there was a time I didn't know my water wasn't running. I had to go to that place to get water. And that's how I met him.
One of the biggest obstacles that we've had was to figure out exactly what our roles are in running this business, and as we grow, how our role evolves. So as an example, I was scooping ice cream, ringing customers in the front. She was making ice cream in the back. So her focus was just on product. How do I make ice cream, the best ice cream possible? While as I'm now having to hire new staff, high school students, and train them in a way where I know that this is the way we want to be represented.
We've been here 36 years. So it's, we've gone through a recession back in, in 2008, so I was at the helm, in charge of a lot of the finances and everything at that point. Obviously, we went through COVID, so that's one heck of a challenge. And now it's like, we're also kind of in an economic downturn, so we're traversing that, and there's definitely some challenges, with things going on, at the federal level. Unfortunately, a lot of federal workers that live in this area, and I mean, the county in general is going to be impacted by the layoffs that are happening, and obviously we have a lot of the immigrant community that a lot of folks are afraid to go out, so it's, we've faced a lot of challenges, but we've made it through, and I'm hoping that, we make it through this one.
Actually, obstacles. The day-to-day running of the restaurant and getting staffs is the number one issue. Getting people to work with you and stay. When we started, it was just me, my husband, and my children. It was crazy.
The biggest challenge that I face is the price of my goods are still up. So it gets to the point where, if we used to pay $6 a pound for steak, and now I'm paying it was like $11 today, right? It's double. It's almost double. So how do you pass that on to the consumer? There's a balance, right? It's like you're not going to want to pay $40 for a steak that you used to pay $20 for. That's what it should be, because that's the way that the prices have gone up. So that's the biggest challenge, is like the price of goods still hasn't come down, and everybody's feeling it. When you go to the grocery store, it's $100 more than you used to spend per week. Same thing when you go to a restaurant. I go to a lot of times to a restaurant with my family, my 3 daughters and my wife, and we're spending $200. We just went to the iPic in Pike and Rose to watch Jurassic Park, and we spent almost $200. And I didn't even have dinner, right? We got an appetizer between me and the wife. So it's a challenge.
Trump's big, beautiful bill contained a massive surge of funding for immigration enforcement, roughly $170 billion. over the next few years.
President Trump acknowledged last week that his aggressive immigration policy was making it harder on businesses that rely on immigrant workers. And some businesses say it's not just workers, but actually customers that they're having a tough time.
Numbers reveal the scope of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. CBS News has learned that ICE is currently holding 59,000 migrants at facilities across the United States. That's a record high.
According to one estimate, it costs ICE on average $165 daily to house one detainee. That means that at the current rate, ICE is spending about nearly $10 million daily.
Federal agents chasing people in the parking lot of a Home Depot.
The Trump administration has reportedly changed course and will once again carry out immigration raids at places like farms, hotels, restaurants.
You know what? It's scary because, like, you know, we're hearing more and more, like, people, regardless of your status, people are getting picked up. We have citizens that have been picked up. You know, we have permanent residents that have been picked up, and you know, there's things that are happening where people have their permanent residency, all of a sudden they're getting revoked, or people are in the process of getting, you know, everything in order. They're doing things legally, but things are, you know, processes are being revoked. So I'm hearing a lot from my staff, from, like, you know, stories about family members and cousins, and my aunt in Baltimore, you know, her husband was picked up, and it's you know, they're family, right? The people that I mean, my manager has been with us for 34 years, right? So I used to bus his tables when I was a kid, and he was a waiter. You know, these are people that I grew up with. You know, these are my family members. You know, and you know, he's with us. You know, we have a lot of employees that have been with us for a long time, and it's just a testament to how people feel, you know, working here. You know, it's a good environment, and very family oriented.
The owners are nice to me, and I'm nice to them. I know my way around. I do my job to the fullest, trying to perform my job every day better than last, and then go on. That's what kept me going forward, and then stay here for that long, because I met here so many wonderful people here over the years that I've been working here.
Summer is our busiest month. The streets, I don't know how long you guys have been here. I've been here 3 years, the first year, the second year. But this year is like everybody traveled. I don't know where they are. It's not this quiet. Everybody comes in this place. Sometimes some people need to stay outside. We are busy, we're walking round the clock, and by the time we have this little break, that is summer. We look forward to summer. So he asked me, like, is this policies affecting your business? I said, maybe. I don't know. But I know the streets are empty, and it's not good for small business. And our communities are made up of a lot of that, small businesses.
During the current climate, restaurants, especially immigrant-owned restaurants, are definitely feeling the wrath of what's happening. People who deserve a safe space to go to work in are feeling very scared and vulnerable. It's devastating having to show up to your work and knowing that the way that you get paid, you can't return back there right now because it's unsafe, and that's a really big fear.
A lot of folks now it's not just the folks that are responding to court dates, but individuals that are trying to get ahead of them. So we do have an influx of clients, folks that really don't have any, folks that don't have any relief, still trying to figure out, you know, how can I protect my status? How can I protect my family?
Maurice Morales is an attorney and former local politician based out of Montgomery County who has fought for immigrants in both positions. She was also recently in the news for filing immigration lawsuits in 2020 to 2024 ahead of Trump's second presidential term.
The sad part is that the system has been designed for a purpose, and that is to keep people of color, working people at a certain I would say a subordinate level, in that they are vulnerable and they are susceptible to being exploited, etc., because the system doesn't give them a status by design.
The administration has also claimed Montgomery County as a sanctuary city, a statement that was said to be untrue by the county's government. there are also current protections in place that shield immigrants and businesses for the time being.
The owner of a business has the ability to say, unless you have a judicial warrant, you are not, you will be trespassing if you come through these doors. And so we need to empower the business community even more, but also they can use their establishment as a sanctuary for their workers. They can say, here are your rights. They can post up their rights in Spanish or any other language of that's spoken by the majority of their workers, and say they don't have to speak to an ICE agent. Nobody can force them to speak. They can absolutely have access to an attorney. I would say go ahead and save the number of an attorney or of an organization that can provide these legal services.
Immigrant-owned restaurants across Montgomery County have made efforts to show their impact.
So May was Asian American Pacific Islanders Heritage Month, and I thought this was an opportunity for us to really highlight some of the amazing cuisine that we have around us that are Asian inspired. So my mom and I sat down and thought about our favorite flavors from our Korean background, but also what we just enjoy. So right now you'll see flavors like mango sticky rice, black sesame crumb cake, ube cheesecake, Thai iced tea. I think it is a very critical period where you may see Stop Asian Hate campaigns. And for us, I think our role is to be able to expose and highlight and celebrate the amazing Asian cuisine that we are fortunate to have around us. Being able to offer these flavors and having people be interested in them, sampling them, and then it suddenly becoming their favorite, I think we're playing a small part in sharing our Asian heritage and celebrating what that means.
Every business is important here in the county. So especially the immigrant community, we're such a diverse county that is important for everybody to feel identified. So we make sure that everybody gets the same service. We make sure that they are treated fairly too, that their needs are identified, and we do our best to support them in a wide variety of ways. We focus on advocating for all businesses, including immigrant businesses here in the county.
Despite the obstacles that lie in their paths, immigrant-owned restaurants continue to thrive on the love from their employees and local communities.
I jokingly call all of my employees my kids because as a classroom teacher, I called all my students my kids. So I say my kids out of love and out of care.
I feel blessed and fortunate to be in this community. It's very diverse. It's not just blacks, it's blacks, whites, Hispanic, Ethiopians.
It's really just making sure that home-cooked, feel and the home-cooked taste of our dishes are still there. The recipes were created obviously between my aunt, my mother, and it goes back to their grandmother. So a lot of the flavor that we have is still that home-cooked meal. So it's continuing to make sure, when she's here, she's tasting things and making sure that things are the way they're supposed to taste, and we've been doing that for over 36 years, and it takes a lot of work to make sure that the pupusas we made back in 1989 have the same taste and flavor and feel that they do here in 2025.
Puff here. So if there's a day that maybe a slow day and we have a lot of puff, we put everything out. We do that. Sometimes we planned on taking food to the fire department.
Community giving to me means that you take care of the smaller community that you're part of on a day-to-day basis. The customers that I see every day, the local businesses, the local nonprofits and the schools that we stand next to. So as an example, many of our high school staff are going off to college, and many of them are first-generation college students, as I was myself when I was growing up. So for my high school staff, they were always thinking about, how do I write a college essay that really tells my story? So we started doing what's called a college essay writing workshops at our shops on almost a weekly basis. So even after years, I still have my former employees coming, asking for references for their big jobs, their first jobs out of college. Or sometimes while they're applying for grad school, they come back and they say, do you mind reading my grad school essays? For me, community giving is really about having an impact, a positive impact on the people that I get to see every single day.
My name is Joni, and my favorite ice cream was peppermint stick with chocolate sprinkles. So now I have my favorite here, and I live in DC, and I always order the same thing, and it reminds me of growing up. The combination of the sprinkles and the peppermint stick, I haven't been able to find it. So I'm excited.
We have classes that come in from schools, and what they'll do is they will come in and our staff will not speak any English. So they won't put any forks on the tables, and the kids will have to ask for, me puede traer un tenedor. I was like, can you bring me a fork? And they will have to know how to say that, otherwise they're gonna have to eating with their hands. There's a lot of participation from the community. So it's definitely something that we give, but the community always, gives back.
There's so many examples of how Montgomery County has supported our business. So the very first example that I can remember is when COVID hit, we know that many of the small businesses were going to struggle. And there is a very active Facebook group called Support Montgomery County Restaurants. And what this group does is they highlight different small businesses that may be offering an exceptional product or services, or who may just need a little bit of a support in terms of the number of customers. So this group started really promoting our ice cream because we were still quite new. And they did the internal work of really supporting the small family-owned ice cream business versus going to grocery stores and buying ice creams from a big corporate chain.
There was a time somebody came to steal our cash register here. It was last year. My staff was running after the guy, and another Hispanic guy was like, get in my car, and followed the guy, and they were calling 911. I was like, don't follow him, leave him. And so that community makes it, you're safe. I'm serious. I feel safe here.
I'm thinking towards the future right now with the restaurant and seeing about, whether this is something that we're going to continue on with my family, with my daughters and my brother's kids, and seeing what they want to do. They're still a little young, I was working at their age, but they've had a different opportunity than I've had. So just continue to be, that hub for the community. We may, look into growing and expanding. I'm trying to see if I can do mail order like pupusas. So that's just a side project that I'm hoping that I can, I've been working on. I would like to be able to, ship my pupusas across the country. There's some people that maybe are in some remote area and they just can't get good pupusas where they are, and we can hopefully supply them with some really good homemade pupusas.
We're looking at something that can grow into a franchise potentially in the future. Why not invest into this now and not be so afraid of the risks that we're taking? If we're given a chance, we're in this economy of entrepreneurship. Why not go all the way, even if we end up failing? Why don't we take that as a learning opportunity there?
I want to be known to have the best jollof rice in all of Wheaton. I want them to know I do have it, actually.
I'll continue to tell these stories as an influencer because at the end of the day, an influencer has influence. I can see that there's an impact, whether it be the people that it's directly impacting, the businesses, the people who are getting to try the tasty food, or people on media teams trying to capture what's going on and share it even further. So I'm realizing even more deeply how important it is, and I want to continue doing that.
So I would just say to business owners, immigrant, non-immigrant, just to business owners in general, they are the spirit of the county, and we are looking to them for shelter in terms of our spirit and the few places that we can still find some joy.
Ice cream is known as a quintessential American dessert. And for me and my mom as an immigrant mother-daughter, to be known as the face of ice cream in the DMV area is something that I've never dreamt of. And it's a privilege to be able to offer the flavors and really highlight some of these cultural flavors and background that ice cream can be, is is one of the biggest joys of our ice cream business. Because if you think about it, like, we're not selling Korean bingsu, right? I mean, we're selling ice cream, which is American, like, traditionally like the most American dessert you can think of. So to turn that into ube, to turn that into matcha and Thai tea ice cream goes beyond just being able to say like we're a successful business. I mean, we're an immigrant business, and we're proud of that, and we showcase it in all of our flavors and how we run our shops and how we like to grow.
Food brings people together. I don't know, in America, I know it is football. In Africa, it's soccer, we call it football too. No matter who you are, when you're angry, when something is happening, people just put it aside and just forget their differences, and just, food is like that. Food brings communities, it doesn't matter. Even someone who don't like you, when they smell good food, they will stop sometimes. I'm serious. So I feel that is beauty. That is the beauty of food. Food brings people together. Food does. That's one thing it does to people. And I know it's a very hard question now, but they should come and eat the food.